I'm Greg, sailor, bagpiper, an all-around jack of all trades. Today, did a little different project, a little seamanship here. I am ready to launch my motorboat, and then I also am going to be ready to launch the little catboat, and have discovered that the pickup buoys, both of them, are in pretty bad shape and need to be replaced. So I have two brand new pickup buoys, and now I need to replace the penants. And as you can see, they're spliced on at the bottom of the pickup buoy and spliced into the eye that goes over the cleat on the boat, and same thing on this one here. So today I'm going to do a couple of eye splices. I have my new line and figured we'd demonstrate the lost art of splicing. So many times now people are just going to the store and buying pre-spliced lines, which is, you know, I guess great if you're doing a dock line, but if you're trying to replace your pickup buoy, that's not quite, you know, the option. So in splicing for this type of, you know, 3-strand line, splicing is fairly straightforward. There are just a couple of little things that you need to keep in mind. I will hopefully zoom the camera down and we can see exactly what I'm talking about. So, sort of like those Chinese finger puzzles, you put your fingers in, and as you pull, it tightens down around your finger. A splice will do the same thing. So looking at this splice, here is the bitter end, and then this side is woven into it. And as you pull, as it's pulling, these lines are tightening down against the ones that are woven into it. And that's what keeps the splice tight. You need to think about how many tucks do I need to put in. You know, if we only do one tuck, it could pull right out. If we do multiple tucks, it gets bound up better. How many is multiple? Well, some lines are slipperier than others, and there are some specifications. In general, I always try to do 5. I figure that may be overkill, but I'd rather have too many than not enough. So I have cut the line and melted the ends because I don't want things coming apart. So what I end up doing now is just cutting the melted line. So that I have the individual strands. All right, and then I always use the bitter end closest to me and the standing part running away. And that way I know that I'm doing my splice correctly. So unravel enough that you think you'll be able to do the 5 or 6 tucks. And then you lay the line over the bitter end. Now you can see that I've got them fanned out in 3. This middle line is going to go, I'm going to open this line up a little bit, and the middle one is just going to tuck underneath. And that is the beginning. Now, the next 2 lines, this line has to go over the one I just tucked inside and get tucked under the next one. So here's this line, here's this one. I'm tucking under this line here. So number 2 gets tucked under number 2. The last one, we can see that number 1 line tucked under this one, I need to back up and say this is the one that has nothing tucked under it yet, and this goes underneath that. So the first line gets tucked under this one, the second line gets tucked under that one, and the third line comes back and tucks under this one. When you have done that, and now you can pull everything a little bit tighter, and you can see that the lines are coming out perfectly at, let's see, what's 360 divided by 3? 120? So there's 120 degrees between each of them. They are absolutely equidistant, and they're all in the same plane. If you've done it wrong, sometimes you'll see them stacked sequentially, or they're not all equidistant. If that's the case, pull them out, start over again. If you have the bitter end on the wrong side and you're tucking back this way, you'll see problems like that. So I end up just sort of pulling things a little bit tighter now that I know everything is consistent and I've got it in the right sequence. Now it's a very straightforward process. Each line goes over the next one and under the one after that. So this line goes over this one and under that one. And I roll a little bit to this line. It goes over this one, under that one. Come back to the third one. It has to go, it went under this, so it has to go over this one and under this one. This is where things get a little bit confusing because you need to make sure that you're tucking under, you're always looking at the standing and not the bitter end that you're tucking under. So pull things tight. Pull the standing end. Now, once again, everything is equidistant. That second tuck worked perfectly. Again, over, under, over, under. This line here has to go over this one and under that one. This one, over this one, under that one. Open things up, slide it through. Go back to the last one. It has to go over this one, under that one. Need to make sure that I'm pulling things in the correct direction. Now, over this one, under that one. You can twist the bitter end, the standing part the wrong way to open it up a little bit and make it a little bit easier. So now, pull them all tight again. Pull that down. Once again, everything is still equidistant, so I've done that next tuck correctly. And it's just completing the process. This line here, over this one, under that one. Roll backwards. This line here has to go over this and under that one. Come back to the last one. And we can see it has to go over this and under that one. Pull everything tight. And they're still equidistant. Now, how many tucks have we done at this point? 1, 2, 3, 4 tucks, I think. Just keep the process going. over this one, under that one. Still equidistant, so I'm doing a good job there. I pull tight every once in a while. Now I think we're on the last tuck because I'm starting to run out of line, the bitter end. And this line is small enough that I'm not worried about how the end looks. If you're using thicker line, at this point what you could do is unravel this and cut off half of it, and then do one more tuck, and then unravel it again and cut off some more and do another tuck. And so your splice will taper down. If you're using 3/4 inch or 1 inch line, you definitely want to taper it, because then you don't just have this big splice and then down to a smaller bitter end. And then I roll the splice, and there we go. Now I will go down, I have a heat gun, and I will cut these bitter ends off with my heat gun so that they won't unravel and won't fray. And that is the eye splice on my pickup buoy. Which one am I doing? Let's see, 6, 12. And 6, 10. That's not that one. This one is the one that has the 12-foot line on it. So now this shackle goes onto the chain at the top of the mooring ball, and the new pickup buoy is going to replace this line. And I thought I got a sharp razor blade knife, but obviously it's not very sharp. Holy mackerel, this is extremely dull. Wow, that was too much like work. All right, so now we'll try this again. I'm just going to put the line through and splice it around this. And I want to leave the splice, some room so that it'll slide around in there and it's not too tight. That looks like I've got plenty of line to do my 5 tucks, maybe even too much. Shorten that up a little bit. Cut through with my dull hoe of a razor knife. There we go, they're all opened up. Unravel it and keep unraveling until I get to the point where I want it to be. And so the 3-strand line, they're all still approximately, in the same sequence they were, twisted around. So the middle one we're going to deal with first, and that basically goes through the top line. So we're cutting through there. The second line we go over the one that we just went under. We go over that one and under the next one. And then again we back up. The first one went over this, so now the last one needs to go under. I'd say over. The first one went under that. We back up and we go under this one. pull things a little bit tighter. Pull that, twist, tighten, and then confirm where we are. And yes, everything is coming out equidistant. So I've started the splice correctly. And that's the most critical, most important step. And now it's just a matter of this goes over that and under the next one. Over, under. This one has to go over this one and under that one. And then the last one has to go over this one and under that one. Gently pull things tight. And double check, all the lines coming out are equidistant. So, we've done it right. Now, this line here has to go over this and under that one. This one here has to go over this one and under the next one in line. This one here has to go over this line and under that one. And the over and unders that I'm looking at are always over and under the standing part of the line. Take a little tension out of it. Double checking again, we're still equidistant on the splice, so we're looking good. So again, well, I can't go too far with this because it's spliced onto the pickup buoy. Always thinking about the standing part. The next tuck for this, over this one, under that one. Roll backwards. This line has to go over this and under that one. I love splicing. Once you get the splice going correctly, now here we've got, so many little pieces of line to think about, but here's my standing line. This one we have to go over. That part of the standing line we have to go under. Still equidistant. So it's once you get it started, which is the trickiest part is just getting things going, over and under. That's all the process is after that. Over, under, over, under, over, under, and just keeping track of which one you're going over and which one you're going under. Take a little tension up each time you do it. Keep the splice looking pretty. And at this point, when you start pulling, it's just all of these lines are pulling taut and just pinching every one of these inside that, so they just cannot come out. So when you take enough tucks on this slippery line, it will never let go. I think the line will part before the splice will slide out. So, over this one, under that one. The eye splice is probably one of the simpler splices and the one that has the most use. There is a back splice, which basically puts a stopper knot at the end of your rope. And I don't use that one very much. I mean, if I need to put a stopper knot at the end of a line, I'd much rather put a figure 8 at the end of it, because that can be taken out. If you put an end splice, basically it looks like that at the end of your line. It's, you know, a nice way to put a knot at the top and then splice your way back down. The end of your line will never come unfrayed, but it makes it bigger. So if you're running a line through a sheave or a block, you may not be able to get this bitter end through the block because it's, you know, bigger. If it's a halyard that's permanently in place, you can do the back splice on it and, you know, never have to worry about, you know, feeding it through anything because it's permanently in your halyard. That being said, if you ever want to take it off, you run into trouble. I think we're better off putting a whipping on the end of a line because that does not increase the diameter of the line at all. And we'll do some whippings later on. But anyway. And there we go. So those are our 2 eye splices. Eye splice on the pickup buoy, eye splice on the pennant, and we're good to go. Now I will take these back down to the shop and cut the lines off. We'll show that process in a minute. Eesh. Hate to use this dull hoe again. And I'm making you all seasick with me wiggling the camera back and forth. Good grief. Alrighty. So you can see when it's melted, it's all one solid mass of, you know, melted nylon. Sometimes you can just crack it and break it apart. And it may just need a little bit of cutting to get it apart. Oh, whoops. I should have fed this through before I cut it up, but fortunately I can do the other end. So, again, standing end away from me, bitter end closest to me. Unravel it to get as much as I think I'll need for the tucks. I'll do a teeny bit more for that. That looks good to me. Start with the middle one going through the top line. So that's the top one there. And I only do that just because it's easier for me to remember where I'm starting. Second one, over the first one, under the next one. Now back up. This has gone under this one, so the last one has to go under this one. You think I'm going backwards and then under? It seems odd, but it's the way you have to do it. Pull them a little bit tighter, take up a little of the slack, tighten this down again. And double check that we are all equidistant coming out. We're good to go. Now it's just a matter of running our tucks. Over, under. Over, under. Here's the standing part. So we know we are over this one and under this one. And we're still equidistant. I'm checking that for you to demonstrate. 9 times out of 10, I don't look, I just assume that I've done it correctly, and I just keep going. Over, under, all the way along. And it's a fairly fast process to do a splice. And yet you go buy your pre-made dock lines and they're rather expensive. And they're not the exact length that you want, they're the lengths that they want to give you. And if you want a moderately long bow line, a shorter stern line, and a pretty long spring line, well, your 3 dock lines have to be different lengths. And you go to the boatyard and buy their pre-made packs and they're all the exact same length. And it's like, well, that's not what I want. Well, sorry, that's what they make. So for you to be able to make your own dock lines, just, you know, makes life so much easier for you because you get exactly what you want. And that bow line always stays in the bow locker, and the stern line is always in the stern locker. And the spring line, well, heck, you know, that's the longest one of the bunch, so that could probably be in your stern locker also. And you know that, boy, that long one is your spring line, and the shorter one is your stern line. And the bow line lives in the bow locker, and it's always there. Mom's boat, you know, that's the way we've got things set up. One last tuck. Tighten things up a little bit. And there we go. And that one's done. Now again, wrap around this. Bitter end towards me, standing part away. Yeah, that wouldn't quite break the way I wanted it to, so cut that free. And cut that free. Open the lines up. Yeah, it looks about long enough. I like the lay of those 3 lines. We're going to tuck the first one through the top one. Now we go over the one we just tucked under and under the next one. We go back. That's the one we just tucked under. We go back 1. And that's the one that the last one has to tuck under. Pull things tight a little bit. Not too tight because we don't want to mess up the splice here. And we're equidistant, so we did it correctly and we're good to go. Now, over under. Over under. Over under. Still equidistant. Haven't made a mistake yet, so we're good. I did this years ago on the Harvey Gamage with an 1.5-inch anchor rod, and I had to use a block and tackle. This was on the pin rail. The eye was on the pin rail on the mast where the halyards tie off. I had to tie a block and tackle to this and run it to the bulwarks and pull with a block and tackle to pull the line through to get it tight, because everything was, and then I put a block of wood underneath it and a rubber mallet and was banging on the top of it to pull everything through. Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, because we had to replace the anchor, and the line was a little bit older, a little bit salty, a little bit stiff, and holy mackerel was that a pain in the neck to deal with. This is brand new line, and it is really easy to work with. But you can work with older line if you really want to. It's just stiffer and a little bit more of a challenge to work with. But again, you can do anything. And you can do anything. All you have to do is try it. And what's the worst case? It doesn't work out, you pull it apart, and you start again. Now, as long as when you start to splice, they're all equidistant coming out, you know you're good to go. If they are not equidistant with that first tuck, don't keep going. But if you check each time and they're always equidistant, you're doing well, and you can just keep going. If for some reason you make a mistake and, you know, tuck under the wrong thing, and that goes over under this one, I know I just made a mistake. I did it intentionally. And, well, now look, they're not equidistant. These two are equidistant. This is coming out the wrong place. It's not right. So I pull it out, I evaluate it and say, okay, it was supposed to go over on the standing end. It's supposed to go over this one and under that one. Oh, look, I went over this and tucked under the bitter end that I'd already spliced through. So I backed it out, tuck it through where I believe it should go, and now they're all equidistant and they're all correct. And I can tuck the last one through. To my last tucks. And there we go. 4 eye splices, all done, all finished. My moorings are ready to go. And what did that take us? 20 minutes, maybe? Didn't look at my watch when I started, but 4 eye splices, 2 moorings done, 20 minutes, piece of cake. Think about this. This is your winter project. February, you know the lengths of the dock lines you want. You're sitting on a snowy night watching TV, or watch this YouTube video and practice splicing. And again, what's the worst that can happen? You have to fix something. But if you don't try, you'll never know that you can do it. Okay, well, we finished all the splicing, and now we're back down in the shop. I have a soldering gun that I've replaced the tip with a rope cutting tip, and hit the trigger. It starts to heat up. See if I can balance this. And I use a little scrap block of wood, and let's bring up one of the pickup buoys that we just spliced. So I want to clean off all of this junk. If you don't have a soldering gun with a tip, which I did not have for the longest time, I don't know why, I never thought that you can just take the tips off and replace them, and it never occurred to me I could do that. What I used was a hacksaw blade, and I just cut a hacksaw blade, and you don't even need to cut it, and made it about 4.5, 5 inches long, and would, with a gas stove or a propane torch or whatever you might have, you just heat the blade up, the hacksaw blade up, until it is nice and sharp. Nice and hot, and it will go through this, like a hot knife through butter. And so, that is another solution to how to melt the ends and keep them from unfraying. And, who doesn't have an old hacksaw blade that they don't need anymore? Okay, one down. One more to go. Well, my battery just died. Fortunately, I noticed it right off the bat, so I just popped a new battery in, and we'll finish up this process. Now, I'll probably have to wait for my gun to heat up again. Yep, not warm enough. This is getting older and it is tired. It takes a while to heat up, but it gets the job done well enough. And I think that one's good enough. Alrighty. That process is complete. Clean up my mess. So, thank you for watching this latest video on splicing. The next one we'll do on our seamanship class probably will be whipping. Not quite sure when we'll get to that one, but I've got to get back to the boat and see what we can do to get the boat finished up and ready to launch. The motorboat's going to go in this afternoon, and hopefully my little cat boat will go in a couple of weeks. So we may show you some videos on those, but in the meantime, it's back to slow air. So thank you for watching. Please hit the like button if you've enjoyed the video. Click subscribe so you get updated when new videos come out. And thank you very much for following SV Slow Air.